when evening had come, Jesus said to his disciples, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great gale arose and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But Jesus was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?"
Good morning, everybody. So I'm going into my senior year right now, and it's very easy to say that my junior year has been the most stressful and hard year I've ever gone through. Yet it's also very easy to say that it has been the most important year, as I think it has shaped me who I am today. Before the school year even began, I was scared of everything. I mean, every junior or senior, I guess, who already went through the year told me how it was so hard and so stressful and how there was an uncountable number of nights where they stayed up way too late studying for exams the next morning. Not to mention how they told me how my friend group would change, and I didn't believe them. I was really confused. I thought that my friends would stay the same and I'd be able to manage all the work I got assigned. I was wrong. By January, everything I had been told had become my reality. I lost a lot of friends and I gained a lot of friends. And as I was trying to deal with all the social drama that comes along with high school, I was also trying to manage my grades because, as everyone told me, junior year is the year that matters most for college. I had to apply myself, otherwise my grades would drop and blah, 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 so on and so on. There was one night where the drama at my school with my peers became very overpowering. I found myself very, very stressed out. I was studying for my math final the next morning that was on the verge of dropping a letter grade. At this point, I wanted to stop and give up. But then I heard Jesus say something in my heart. And while he was not literally speaking to me, I heard him very loud and clear. He told me he had it all figured out. And at that point, I realized that God knows what my final grade in math would be. God knows where I'm going to end up for college in a year. God knows that I'm hurting so deeply due to my peers, but most importantly, he knows how to take all that stress and hurt away. And he did. I stopped worrying, I studied hard, and it was as if everything fell into place. I got the grade I wanted, and I found my true friends by the end of the year. And as a matter of fact, I get to say that I have the best group of best friends who love and care about me and each other so much. And I get to have them in my life because God put them there. And God helped me to realize where I need to focus my energy and who I need to focus my energy with. In Mark, the disciples are scared. I mean, who wouldn't be? They're in a boat that's sinking, and Jesus is in the back of the boat sleeping. Then Jesus questions their faith. He says, "Why do you not trust me?" And at that moment, they're still like, well, I mean, there's still a storm. And then he calms the storm. The disciples were shocked. They couldn't believe what Jesus had just done. But that's what's so amazing about God's work and all of his power. He has the ability to not only calm our small storms, but all of them. Big, small, tall, and wide, it doesn't matter. He calms them all. And he does this out of his unconditional love for us. Junior year was just one big storm for me. I felt like the boat I was sitting in was really just going to sink. Yet after a year of hurt and struggle and stress, God calmed my storm. When I stopped searching for answers and searching for a way to make my year more enjoyable, I found Jesus right in front of me saying again that he had it all figured out. In my heart, I heard him saying this more than once. And it was those few words that made me make the realizations I had to make and realize that no matter how big it felt my storm was, God was bigger. And I learned from what I went through. And I found myself in a relationship with God that was stronger than it had ever been before. I found myself praying so much more, not only asking for help, but to say thank you, and to ask for forgiveness for ever doubting his power. Because we're afraid that something may not work out or that something is going all wrong. It's like we're saying that we don't trust God and that he is who he says he is. God doesn't want us to hurt, and he doesn't want us to feel the pain that we feel sometimes, but he takes those moments of fear and he uses them for good, and he uses them to shape us into more faithful people than we were before. The disciples in the boat were stressed about the storm and that Jesus was doing nothing to stop it, but he does. He stops it at just the right time, because by allowing the disciples to have fear, they're able to see God's power and his glory above all things and through all things. And it allows them to grow stronger in faith. Without the storm, they would not have been able to see how good God can be in times of fear. And I think all of our lives are very similar to this. We find ourselves in situations where we're praying and asking God why he isn't doing anything to stop the hurt or the stress that we're feeling. There are times in all of our lives where we can't help but ask why. Why is this happening to me? Why is this happening to the person I love so much? Why can't everything just work out for once? And while it may seem like God is just not responding, he is listening more deeply than anyone ever could. And no matter how many times we ask the question why, and no matter how doubtful we are, God will still stop the storm in our hearts. And during all that time where the storm seems nonstop, God is doing work in our hearts and allowing us to grow from the fear that we feel like the storm will never end. And while I'm telling you all about how high school is stressful for me, I'm assuming that work may be the same at times. Home life can be stressful, and quite frankly, we can find ourselves in places of fear all throughout life. But the most important thing to keep in mind is that no matter how fearful you are, how much pain you're enduring, or how much stress you feel, it's not going to last forever, because these are our storms, and God always calms our storms.
Good morning. Tough act to follow, but I'll try my best. In times of chaos and disarray, losing focus and faith is very easy to do. Chaos is a storm that can mean a multitude of things: losing a loved one, starting over at a new school, a new job, having personal struggles at a current position, wondering what God's calling is for you. Amidst all of this, however, we must remember that even when we feel down, Jesus will be there to resolve confusion and calm commotion. This past year, I was blessed with the opportunity to go through the college admissions process. While I have great confidence in my final decision to attend Fordham University, confidence is probably the last word I would have used to describe myself in the months of applying and waiting, and then waiting some more for those admissions decisions. While I wanted to be excited, more often than not, I found myself to be consumed by stress. What if I didn't get into the college of my dreams? What did that mean for my future? How would this be God's plan? What kind of peace was that? I now realize it was a blessing to be accepted to Fordham, and I'm proud to say that I'll be a Ram. But this pride and peace was not the case when I opened up those rejection letters. Hey, I just got rejected from 5 schools in 1 week, score. No. That was not my initial reaction. However, as I narrowed it down to the places I was offered admission, I started to see that maybe this so-called storm wasn't really a storm anymore. They say you will have some sort of gut feeling when you step onto the right campus, that you will just know it is your school. To me, this sounded like I was supposed to feel a calling somewhere, and while I wanted to go along with it, my initial reaction was, yeah, right. I found that my faith in finding the right school at times was very skeptical, to say the least. However, this was because I hadn't yet stepped onto Fordham's campus. I'm not quite sure what it was exactly, but after the admitted students' day and tour, I left with a feeling I had never encountered before. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I was being called to go there. I have the intention of studying biological sciences, but at the end of the day, who really knows what I will end up doing at the end of my 4 years? All I do know is that for one reason or another, I am supposed to be there. When I walked around and realized that that campus could be mine, I felt the winds and waves that had been drowning me for so long finally calm. Maybe it was the people I met, the location in New York, perhaps the Jesuit affiliation, or maybe even the fact that Little Italy is no less than a 5-minute walk from campus. Fast forward to now, and I am constantly getting more excited to go off to college. To spare my mother, I will not remind her right now of the exact number of days I have left, but if I had to say, then somewhere around 17 might be a pretty good guess. While I am now content and have felt God's presence and calling, I find myself in the eye of a new storm, saying goodbye. Every day closer I get to beginning this next chapter of my life is another day I lose with the people I have built a life with. This transition is as bittersweet as anything can get, and recently it has indeed felt like a storm. I've already had to say goodbye to friends, some who have gone across the country, others who have gone across the world. With every goodbye, I feel the pressures of going away intensify. For the first time in my life, I will be on my own. I try to stay excited, but it's not always easy, even though I feel finding peace in a situation like this should be. I get to meet new people and pursue whatever area of study sounds appealing to me. I'll be exposed to new ideas, make amazing friends, explore New York, and the list goes on. When I put it like this, it seems almost silly to think that I would be anything but eager to move on. I realize I won't be going through this process alone, for there are tens of thousands of people my age going through the exact same thing, yet I still feel like the waves are crashing down harder than ever. I wish that such a pivotal moment in my life didn't have to mean saying goodbye to everyone I know. Nonetheless, I knew what I would be getting myself into when I applied and committed. It all just seems so surreal to finally be my reality. This move is only temporary, and I know I will be reunited with my friends, family, and with CPC soon enough. For some it will be 3 months, others 6, a few a whole year. And while that all sounds terrifyingly long, especially for those I have known for longer than I can remember, I will see everyone again. My faith is what keeps me optimistic. Strong faith is what has kept me going through some of the hardest parts of my life, events I look back on and am amazed at how I made it out okay. The worst thing anyone can do is lose their faith. We must all recognize that even when life isn't going the right way, or maybe when it's going the right way, but it's still not easy, that faith will get us through. At the heart of the storm, when the waves were the tallest and the winds were the strongest, was the same moment when the disciples were seemingly losing faith. Jesus was there for them to calm the storm, so we must remember and have faith that Jesus is here with each and every one of us to calm our own hardships. Finding a calm place in Jesus is, in my personal opinion, that I would bet many of us share, the best way to lead a meaningful life. Through Jesus, all peace is made still.
Please pray with us. Lord, be with us today and help us to realize that our storms we face are so much smaller than all of your power. Be with those facing hardships, facing stress and hurt, and let them know that you are there, even though it may feel like you're not at times. Lord, thank you for calming our storms. You are one of the only people with the most amazing power to take that stress and pain away that we all feel. And even though it may take a while, help us to realize that it's for a reason, and that you love us unconditionally throughout all of our lives, during the storms and the clear skies. It's in your name we pray. Amen.